Hello and welcome to our program today, Cultural Cooking Tortilla Española, part of our Hispanic Heritage Month program. I'm Becky Greer with the Hillsborough County Public Library. I'm here today with Chef Mira. There will be an opportunity to ask questions after this demonstration. Please submit your questions at any time during the program. Before we get started, I want to invite you to continue the experience with these books after their program today. If you love eating eggs, then this book, How to Cook Eggs and Omelets in 300 Different Ways by Herman Senn, is the perfect book for you. It's available on Hoopla, and Hoopla is always available instantly. There's never any wait. You can always get the book you want. We also have another book, A Taste of Latin America by Patricia Cartin. That book is available on our app, Libby. It has a great variety of recipes from multiple countries in Latin America. And you can go and check that out and get started cooking. Now I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Chef Mira, who will teach us a few recipes today, or who will teach us one recipe today about Hispanic cooking. Go take it away, Chef Mira.
Thank you, Becky, and welcome everyone to our kitchen. My name is Mira Johnson. I'm a holistic life coach and wellness chef. And I'm happy to have you all here joining us in our kitchen today. We're gonna make tortilla española, as Becky mentioned. Excuse me, love my rag. And this is a very easy recipe. I think most people will have at their home eggs, onions, and potatoes. It's comfort food, and it's perfect, I think, to bring the thoughts of our heritage, our Hispanic heritage. I'm from Puerto Rico, so I grew up with this dish in our kitchen. It actually reminds me of my grandmother. So if you relate eating this dish when you were little, this is one dish that I think will be great for kids to learn. One, because they have protein, and it could be a full meal, and two, it's easy to make, and it's a good exercise, a bonding exercise. I remember making this with my grandmother, so those are memories that we'll have forever. So I have the stove already on. I'm gonna show today the way to make this recipe on top of the stove, and also there's other ways to make it. We could talk about that as we go, and then I'm gonna show you first the ingredients. I have 6 eggs. 6 eggs is gonna be about 3 portions. I would say 2 eggs per person. But if you're making another meal and you want to make the portion smaller, then you could feed more people. Then I have russet potatoes and yellow onions right here. Now the potatoes I cleaned and peeled already. And then I have half an onion, which is what we're gonna need for this. For 6 eggs, you're gonna need 1 potato and about half an onion. If you want more potato, you could add more. I'm gonna keep it low. Another way to treat your potato, if you like, I didn't do it this time, but you can chop your potato and put it in water. That's going to reduce, once you rinse that water out, that's gonna reduce the starch in your potatoes. So if you want to do that so you could enjoy white roasted potatoes, go ahead and do it. So the first thing, you want your sartén or pot or pan. You want it to be already heated. I'm using this ceramic today, but you could also use stainless steel, and you could also use a cast iron. Then for spatulas, depending on the pan that you use, you want to use the appropriate spatula for it. So for example, with this one, I don't want to scratch it, so I'm going to use this plastic one, the silicone one. And then the potatoes, if you want to manually cut them, you want them this thin, a little bit thinner than this actually. So cut them in half alongside, then in half again. Can you see that? And then just slice thin. Go against, like you're going against the grain, and that's going to hold your knife. Of course, always use the cloth to hold your potato, and just kind of shave it. That's gonna make it thinner. That's one way of doing it. If you don't have a knife or you're dealing with inflammation or you just want to use a tool, you could use something, a tool like this little guillotine, and add your potato. And I should have a security. Always safety first in the kitchen. If you're cooking for a lot of people, this will save you time. And this is a lot thinner, so they're gonna cook faster. So I'm actually gonna make them like this. There you go. In the meantime, my pan is still getting warm. Because when I add my oil, I'm gonna add olive oil. You gotta be ready for it. Okay, that's it. Sorry for the noise. I got the potatoes that I want. Now, I will usually use avocado oil because you could cook higher heat with avocado oil. But to keep the traditional flavors of the Tortilla Española, which is of course from Spain, I'm gonna use olive oil, about a tablespoon. And to help the level of heating or cooking and heating without transforming your oil, I'm gonna add some ghee. And you see how it's already crackling because it's hot? That's what you want. So now I'm gonna add my potatoes. Yes, and you wanna hear the sizzling? That's gonna sear our potatoes. Spread them so the oil can go through all of them and heat it. And this goes down pretty fast. Now in the meantime, I'm gonna chop some onion. Let me rinse my container. And you don't have to actually rinse it. When I made the first tortilla earlier today, I just did half on one side the potatoes and half the other side the onion, and it was fine. So I'm gonna add my onion. Still a little bit of potato in here. Okay, now add the onion. Perfect. Let's check on the potatoes again. Yeah. You want them to start turning color and browning. So I'm gonna get the temperature, it was in medium, now I'm gonna go medium high. Because we wanna sear the potatoes real nice, just a little bit more before I add the onions. And this is what the onions look like, if I could show you without the, just like that. Now, I remember my grandmother will cut the onion in half and then make like half moons, slice it in half moons. And then she will like arrange the potatoes and arrange all of the onions in a very particular way. But we live in different times and we're trying to cook in the less time possible and still feed our families a wholesome meal. But if you have the time or cooking relaxes you and you want to take your time slicing your potatoes and slicing your onions, then go ahead and go for it. To me, cooking is relaxing. When I'm cooking at home, when I'm cooking at work, it's work. It's a mission, not work, it's a mission. Okay, so our potatoes are cooking. The next thing, let's go ahead and mix those eggs. And that's going to be using our time wisely. So I have, I'm not gonna use the bowl. I'm just gonna do it right here on my measuring cup. Like that is easier to pour it. Now, these are steps that you can make ahead of time if you're entertaining. I would like to offer these as a dish in your entertaining. Definitely make the potatoes and the onions ahead of time. Mix your eggs ahead of time. And then you just gotta put it together when you're ready to serve it, to eat and serve. If you have any questions, please post them. And Becky's going to be going over them so we could answer them to the best of our ability. And if you've made this dish or you have a family recipe to share, please share it with us. We'd love to hear about it. So those are, the eggs are beaten. Let me add some sea salt. Keep it on that Mediterranean flair. Tortilla Española is originally from Spain. This is a medley of peppercorn medley, just to add a little bit of kick and flavor. And then I have just a pinch of garlic powder, onion powder, and paprika. That's my choice to add. If you want to add an anti-inflammatory element, you could add turmeric to it. Mix a little bit more. Check on our potatoes again. Oh yeah. It's almost like making hash browns first. And there's something about that combination of potato and onion that is so comforting. That's why so many cultures have a dish or many dishes that include potatoes and onions. But in the Hispanic culture, this combination is very typical. I want to show you, so if I can show you some of the colors of the potato. I'm not sure if you can see it. Now, although I season the eggs, I'm also going to season with sea salt and pepper the potatoes and the onions. The salt is going to help release the juices of the potatoes and the onions and just give it a little bit of another level of flavor. And salt and pepper is all you need. But if you want to add another warm spice, you can. It's just, I'm showing you the most traditional and familiar way to me. So I'm gonna kind of pile it to the center now that they're starting to brown more. So when I flip them, they flip and burn on the other side. Not burn or brown on the other side. Just like that. You could have the kids make this if they're allowed to use the stove with supervision. This is a great way to use it. Use your time with the kids in the kitchen. Just by showing them this recipe. And also, this is a recipe great for brunch because it's so wholesome with the potatoes and the onions again and the egg. You got your protein. It's a great dish to add to your brunch menu the next time you make brunch. And if you've never made it, it sounds intimidating, but it's really not. I mean, if you cook and you've made potatoes and onions before, it's not really, you know, a lot of steps. It's just like I was sharing with Becky earlier, you want to stay with it. This is not a dish, unless you're making it in the oven, this is not a dish that you want to walk away. So you want to be present when you're cooking it. All right. I am going to get now, I'm going to wait a little bit more. If anyone has any questions, please share them. And we're going to go over them There you go. That's what I wanted to see, the potato. Now I'm going to pile it to the center. And I want to lower the temperature before I even add the egg, because I don't want to burn the egg, but I do want it to cook. So at this point, you could take the potatoes out, mix them in a container, and pour them back in. There is no need to do that, because all you have to do is move them in here, and the egg is gonna go and mix with the potatoes and come back and give you that tortilla shape. So flatten it, tilt the pan a little bit to make sure the egg is going evenly everywhere. And now we want to go to medium low so it cooks, but we're not burning the bottom. Think we could open for questions if there's any questions.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, we have a few questions.
Awesome.
You mentioned making it in the oven. How would you transition from making it from the stove top to the oven? How would that work?
So if you're making this for a lot of people, or you don't want to stand over the stove while it's cooking completely, I would either roast the potatoes and the onions in the oven, or on top of the stove like we just did, saute them, and then put them together in a casserole. Oil the casserole with the same oil that you're using, whether it's avocado or olive oil and ghee, or just olive oil, and then mix your eggs with the onions and pour them, cover them, and cook them for, I will say, this size 6 eggs will cook in about 20 to 25 minutes, or you want to have a thermometer and make sure that it's cooked to 165. So, but that's how you will make it in the oven. And as a casserole, then you just plate it where you could either cut it in little squares, or put it out in the same casserole and serve it from there. But it's a lot more efficient if you're cooking for 20, 40, 50, 100 people. You can make it in the oven, involving the kids, Becky. And on top of that, if you make them in cupcake cups with the kids, do the same process. Saute your onions and your potatoes, and then add them cooked with the eggs to the cupcake mold, and you have little mini ones too.
That sounds so cute.
Mm-hmm.
Another question is about how many people would this, what you're making right now, how many people would that serve?
I would say 3 to 4 people. Like even right here, if I cut it in quarters, that will be a meal. If you have a salad with it, if you put it in a sandwich, it will fit perfectly in a sandwich. So I would say 3 to 4 people, or 2 people eating twice. You could eat half for breakfast and half for lunch.
That was actually another question that we had, was does it reheat well? How would you reheat it?
And if you're going to reheat it, anything that you reheat, is not that it's not going to be good. It's just not going to be the same as fresh, especially with eggs. If you're making it in the oven, the casseroles reheat great in the oven, because the steam of the oven with the lid is going to plump up those eggs again. If not, then you could use a microwave or an air fryer if you use the air fryer, do a 325 for about 2-3 minutes. But if you leave them whole like this, you can reheat them in the oven, or even on top of the stove cover, and it will reheat very well. So look, because this is what I'm doing before we go to the next question. I'm just going around lifting it, making sure the egg on top is cooking too before we attempt to flip it, because I need it to be firm on the bottom. But the more I go like this, it lets me get in and know how far the spatula can go. Okay. I'm gonna give it a minute because it just needs to.
Not quite ready.
Okay, let's see if you could see that better there.
Yeah, that looks good. I can see it
Okay.
brown.
Awesome. Is it better without the light?
It helps with that what it's right now. That looks good.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Another question is, can you use any kind of potato for this? Is there any particular type that you should use?
That's a great question. And this is my answer to that. When I'm gonna make a recipe, I don't make a recipe because I don't have the exact ingredients. If you have red potatoes, make it with red potatoes. However, the firmness of the roasted potato adds to the bite of the tortilla. But if what you have is the mini potatoes, chop those and use them. Don't don't do it. But if you wanted the exact kind of bite and more traditional, roasted potatoes are the best.
Let's see what else we've got. All right, you mentioned ghee earlier. So what is it and how do you use it?
Yes. So ghee is a product of butter that has no lactose, no casein, no gluten, and no sodium. And you use it as you use ghee. It doesn't need to be refrigerated, but it's a product of butter with no lactose. It's deeper in flavor and consistency, so you use less than butter, but it's great for eggs because it makes them silkier, or when you're finishing sauces, this is a great product to use if you don't want to use butter. Very healthy fat. So I think we're ready to do our first flip with the tortilla española.
Make sure we get that.
And the way you do that, again, you want to run your spatula and see that it's lifting. And you're going to grab a plate bigger than your pan, and with a rag, very quickly, just flip it and then drop it in. Do you see that? Don't worry about the potatoes or the egg on here because it's going to flip again. And then you just bring it back together. If there are any pieces that came loose or cracked, just push the egg back together and it will be fine. Now, in Puerto Rico, I remember this, again, like I mentioned before, you could eat this as a breakfast item or a brunch item over coffee, with crackers or bread. But you could also make this a meal with putting it on top of rice and adding maybe some cheese to it. That was a good way to have it if you wanted to have it as a meal. Even rice and beans, this would be a great addition too. I know, full of carbs, but delicious. And for brunch, like I mentioned, once you take it, you could plate it, put some cheese and crackers, olives, and make it like a center of your bar. You know how now we create these charcuterie boards? This could be a great center of attraction for a charcuterie, a breakfast or brunch charcuterie. If you add olives, crackers, different breads, maybe a garlic butter or maple butter. So you can see. And it's thick. Those potatoes are compacted in there. Onions are compacted in there. Any other questions, Becky?
Yeah, someone was very interested in the tool you use to go and cut the onions and the potatoes. Just we're curious about where to get something like that, especially with the safety feature.
Yes, you could find this on our website. We have a link to our Pamper Chef page, and you could find it there. This is awesome. And I use gadgets because even though I enjoy the process of shopping and cooking, when you do that for 300-500 people, and then you're coming home to cook, it's healthier for me to use these tools to get my meal prep done. rather, you know, especially if I have a flare or dealing with some type of inflammation. So that works for me. That's why I use them. And that's why I share them so people see, hey, there's an easier way to get things done. But if you have the knife fever and you want to chop and cut with your knife, that's also beautiful. That's creating. So feel welcome to it. But if you want to see the tool, go on our website, breakingbreadwithmira.com. And on our classes and on most of our pages, we have the link to the Pampered Chef class, page, and then you could order it there. It will come to your home. All right, I'm gonna do another flip. Yes. And that's our last flip.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
That
it
looks-
smells so good too. Can you see it there?
Oh, yeah, we can see. It looks delicious.
Awesome. Let me clear this a little bit. And I'm gonna show you one way of plating it. As I mentioned before, you could plate it with rice and beans, or you could plate it. I am going to plate it today with sourdough toast and goat cheese. So I have sourdough toast and goat cheese. I'm just going to cut it. See, if you cut it in half and in half, you have 4 good portions here. It's gorgeous. Oh, and it smells so good. So I'm just gonna take a little piece. Another good cheese that matches great with this dish is feta cheese. And then I want some of this goat cheese on my bite. And if you excuse me, I need to take a little bite and make sure that everything is good. Mm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you about that bite right there. The creaminess of the cream cheese with this is a wholesome bite. This is definitely, it has bite with the potatoes and the onions, and then you get the creaminess of the cream cheese with the crunchiness of the sourdough. That's a happy place for me. One thing I would do, and I didn't do, is add a little bit more salt. It's good with pepper, but it just needed a little bit of the salt. And there you have it. That's Tortilla Española, a traditional dish from Spain that traveled through the Caribbean, South America, Central America. And it's a comfort food in many of our Hispanic communities. It's a great dish that you could prepare ahead of time and just put it together when you're ready to serve it. Just wanted to show you earlier, I had made also one of the small cast iron. So this will be 1 to 2 people, you think? A single serve. Now this one, the way I will plate it, I will make an arugula or bitter green salad, even a collard green salad, and serve it with a salad with heirloom tomatoes dressed in maybe olive oil and balsamic vinegar, and you have a meal right there. Becky, what do you think? You will make this?
I would definitely make this. Yeah, that looks delicious. I haven't had dinner yet. It's making me pretty hungry.
And they smell so good. That smell of the potatoes with the onions is just amazing. It's taking over here the kitchen. I hope you all enjoyed this recipe and that you try it. Thank you, Becky, for inviting us, and the library, the Tampa and Hillsborough Library, for inviting us to celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month. And I hope that you enjoy these recipes and you make them And for more information, go to our website, breakingbreadwithmira.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Chef Mira. And actually, we answered all of our questions here.
Excellent.
1 second.
Mm-hmm.
So for the smaller dish, how many eggs was that, and how many eggs and potatoes?
So for the smaller dish, I used 4 eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And another good thing to do if you want the tortilla, especially if you're making it in the oven, if you want the tortilla to be denser and fluffier, then blend your eggs in the blender or use a hand blender and put some air into the eggs, and that's going to make it even thicker. On the other hand, you can make them like you also make like pancakes if you want them thinner.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fabulous. All right, so I'm gonna actually bring up our contact page now. If you want to contact the library, you can reach us at hcplc.org/contact or give us a phone call at 813-273-3652. If you want to check out Chef Mira's website, it's right here. It's breakingbreadwithmira.com. We will have more programs celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month now through October 15th. You can look at the full list at our website at hcplc.org/Hispanic Heritage. The site will also have information about our children's art contests for grades K through 12, and our first prize winners will get $200 art supply packages. So I want to thank Chef Mira for joining us again for another program, and all of our attendees tonight for participating and asking those great questions. I hope everybody has a wonderful night. Okay. Bye, everybody. Good night, Chef Mira.
Bye, Becky. Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.